First of all, I'd just like to say this is really cool.
Look, can we just talk about something else, please?
Since it's already quiet, I guess we might as well start the team meeting.
Greetings, little big leaguers, wherever you're listening or watching, and welcome to episode 12 of the Little Big Fantasy League podcast. After taking a 2-week break, we are back to bring you the latest and greatest in the Little Big League Fantasy.
And as you can see up on your screen, if you're watching, tonight we are joined by our second ever special guest on the podcast. Coming to us from the west side of Michigan, he is an avid collector of Topps Tigers team sets and both Majestic and Nike branded Tigers jerseys. As the league's newest owner, he has been making moves left and right with both free agent ads and trades to clean up the mess that he was given at the start of the season. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the Glizzard of Oz himself, Tom, the owner of the Barrel Aged Dry Guys. There it is.
Cheers, fellas.
Let's go.
Little bourbon, little barrel-aged bourbon, perhaps. Thanks for having me.
That's what we like.
Filtered water.
I got a Miller Lite.
I didn't know we were bringing brews to this. Go get something.
You should have known by now.
Yeah, should have brought my short boys.
If only those still existed. FanDuel needs their own beer now.
They do.
Well, we appreciate you joining us here, Tom, becoming the second ever guest on this podcast, joining the ranks of the league commissioner, John, and can already tell you're going to be a better special guest than our first.
I'll try. That's all I can do.
Well, I know this is not your first rodeo. I know that you did have a podcast during the pandemic.
I did, yes. Professional wrestling podcast. I think we had exactly 100 episodes. Ran from 2020, summer of 2020 till December of 22, maybe? Yeah, I don't know. You can find it on Apple or not. 2 Spot Monkeys. For
Okay.
all the pro wrestling fans that also subscribe to this great podcast.
Nice.
Cool.
I did not know that you did that many episodes. That's pretty impressive. I mean, we're just sitting here right now with episode 12, so we're light years away at this point.
Yeah.
All right, let's get right into it. We got a lot to catch up on from the last few weeks, right into the Week 10 matchups. So, taking a look here, the gold medal went to myself, the Luke Collins Heartthrobbers. Bye week picks up the silver medal, and Ristopia, despite losing, picks up the bronze medal. The winners in matchups for Week 10, I took that matchup over Carter in what was a very close one. The Detroit Mariners just scraping by the Barrel Aged Dry Guys. Kerry Bonds picks up the win against Otani's Interpreters. A really close matchup with the Stephen Hawkins staying on top of the league, beating the now Schwarbenbach enthusiast with the name change. We'll get into that name change a little bit later. And then bye week, of course, coming out on top against the Justice League. Anything stand out there in the Week 10 matchups, fellas?
Well, I think you can look with me first and say that might have been my last opportunity to get a win this season. I hope that's not true. However, look at the run I gave John, and then look at what happens in the weeks that we'll talk about to follow. It was a good one. It was a good run while it lasted.
Guess you're playing for the future.
No, I'm in it every week. Come on.
Don't sell yourself short. I mean, I think you always have a chance against the Justice League, no matter what. Like, that's just the reality that we're in right now. But I don't know. I'm seeing some teams kind of drop off the last few weeks, and we'll get into the 11 and 12 matchups too. But JD, anything stand out in these matchups?
For me, I think I don't even remember exactly that week with against Kyle. But I pulled it out, so the luck runs on, I guess. Still going. Well, it'll be a theme the next few weeks here. So I don't have much else from that. And that's really good.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to remember back to week 10 at this point, just because there
Great
have
content
been
there for you guys, but
got a little bit of lag going on here. But yeah, a little bit hard to remember back to week 10 at this point. But I do remember thinking like Carter comes out as like the big loser of this week just because he scored so many points and still kind of came up short there. So that was a pretty tough loss for him, but a few close matchups in week 10. Let's flash to week 11 with the Schwarbenbach enthusiast absolutely just destroying his opponent, which was the Barrel Age Rye guys. But really, he would have beat anybody by a large margin, putting up a 952.5, earning the gold medal. Ristopia with a 799 in second place, and then myself with a 721. I was able to beat Walt, Ristopia able to beat the Detroit Mariners. We mentioned Schwarbenbach enthusiast. Kerry Bonds with a win against the Justice League. No surprises there, but a closer matchup than it should have been. And then another win for the Stephen Hawkings against Otani's Interpreters. Also another close matchup. This was a really strange week when you look at the score totals.
That was the week of one of the trades, and that is the week that the name change officially went into effect. And clearly, he used that momentum to become my daddy. So thank you.
Oh man, it's
yeah, I
like
definitely lucked out. Thanks for not trading him, Schwarber. You know, he played me the previous week. I appreciate that.
All the trade talk heated up in week 11. So
Yeah. Yeah, that with Acuna coming back, I definitely say Kyle's one of my most feared teams right now, to play. So that'll be
yeah.
an interesting playoff situation once we get there.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Strider's come back too, and I think it took him a little bit to get his feet wet again, but he's pitching pretty well now too, and definitely a team to fear going forward. Do want to mention though, Joe was pretty scared in that matchup against the Justice League. That's not the the point total you want to put up against the worst team in the league. So I know he was a little bit scared there, but JD, some possibly similar feelings against the second worst team in the league. Um,
Yeah.
pretty small margin against Otani's Interpreters.
Yeah, he made me sweat, and also it's kind of my fault too because I accidentally didn't start Jesus Luzardo one of the games, and he scored like 30 some points for me, so that didn't help. That didn't make it any easier for me. So it was definitely an interesting Sunday. Let's just say that. I was on the edge of my seat, but we figured it out. So yeah, again, we got a little lucky there.
Definitely. All right, right into the Week 12 matchups. These ones a little bit fresher for us here. I took the gold medal with an 879.2. Detroit Mariners with a solid 866.2. And then again, Schwarbenbach enthusiast is kind of on the climb in this league, putting up an 853. I took the win against the Justice League. John takes the win against Bye Week. Otani's Interpreters putting up a pretty solid amount of points there against Tom. The Stephen Hawkings again finding a way to win by a long shot here against Kerry Bonds and Schwarbenbach enthusiast beating Carter. What are our thoughts on these most recent matchups?
it's more of an overall reflection on the previous 3 weeks, but and I know he didn't join us tonight because he's at the delayed Tigers game. Who wouldn't want to go see Tarek Skubal no hit the Athletics? But nonetheless, this would have been good too. Uh, Joe's scores have been drastically low the last 3 weeks. So if you weren't paying attention when they were shared, rewind, go back, take a look. Joe, I'm not calling you out. Don't worry, we're not going to have a mediation, but I just think that you've reason to be nervous. Now, again, coming from the person who's had their pants pulled down and their bottom spanked 2 weeks in a row, I don't have a lot to say. But Joe, something's happening. I wish I were playing you this week because I might get a win.
Is it time for Joe to make a name change? Because I feel like his, last 3 weeks are correlating with the performance of Kerry Bonds. Kerry Carpenter himself in a bit of a slump, and now Kerry Bonds, the team, in a bit of a slump.
It's worth consideration.
Yeah, you should change it to Chandler Simpson's because he's playing. I mean, that doesn't help Joe for sure. I mean, the fact that they demoted him, I don't think they've called him up yet, have they?
They just called him back up
Did they just call him back up?
yesterday.
Okay.
They did.
Wow. Wow. So maybe things are happening for you, Joe. We'll send you some prayers. Hopefully you don't get your bottom smacked like Tom.
I've healed. I'm okay now.
Okay, that's yeah. After your trades, you've healed. You have a good way forward, I think.
I mean, you take a look at the updated Week 12 standings here, and there are a lot of teams in the mix, despite what has happened the last 3 weeks. We'll go from bottom to top this week. The Justice League sitting in last at 0-12. Otani's Interpreter is sitting at a 2-10. Barrel Age Rye Guys at 3-9. Bye week, the Soul 6-16. We didn't really talk about this, guys, but Walt has also been on the decline after being one of the top teams in the league. He now finds himself in 7th place.
Yeah, I haven't really paid attention too much to what's happened with Walt the past few weeks. Maybe it's just, I mean, I don't know. Have you guys, honestly, I haven't looked.
I don't tend to look at other teams often during the week outside of the matchup that I'm in, but it is interesting. And I think that if you look back to it, some of the scores, there tends to be possibly some second guessing when like you score well, and you would have beaten a number of other teams, but you lost your matchup. A little bit of regret comes with that. I'm not sure that there's anything to do, but it feels gross. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah, he just played John and Leo too, so it's like two high scoring teams, and I think didn't Corbin Carroll just hit the IL too, so that doesn't help.
Yeah.
But
I mean, he's still up there in the top in points getters, so there's really no concern there. It's more so he just can't win his matchups the last few weeks here. I think he'll be just fine. But yeah, Corbin Carroll, that's a tough one. Not sure if his recent transactions have maybe been paying off how he wants either, but it still seems early in the season to me. I mean, we're voting for all stars right now at this point, but we're not even at the halfway point, so there's plenty of time to turn the win-loss record around. 3 teams sitting at 7-5 in reverse order: Kerry Bonds, Ristopia, and Schwarbenbach Enthusiast. Gonna have to get used to saying that one. With the name change for Kyle, switching from Schwellenbach Enthusiast and now combining 2 of his best players in Kyle Schwarber and Spencer Schwellenbach. Any thoughts on the name change there, as we'll get into trade details a bit later in the podcast?
It was immediate. I wasn't it mere minutes after the transaction hit. I mean, way to go. And
yeah, he's on the ball with that.
100%. Yeah, I mean, he was. I was actually FaceTiming him just kind of as all this stuff was going down, and he was throwing out trade proposals, and I was throwing out trade proposals, and it seems like half the league was throwing out trade proposals. I mean, that week felt like it was the trade deadline. All of a sudden, it was like all these names are popping up left and right, and deals were being made. So exciting to see a couple more trades in this league. And Kyle officially is on the climb. He is officially, I think, the team to watch at this point, to maybe be able to just turn it around because, he had a fine season last year. He started off pretty decent this season, but now I think, his team is in a really good spot moving forward.
And remind me again, how many teams in this league make the playoffs? Is it top 6?
It is the top 6.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So he's positioning himself really, really well. Even though he's got those identical records, 4 through 6, points have that advantage right now. And he definitely acquired a great point earner. And then with Acuna coming back too, big things are happening.
Yep, for sure. The Detroit Mariners in third place with an 8-4 record. The Luke Hounds Heartthrobbers with a 9-3 record in second place, and then the Stephen Hawking. See, they cannot be stopped. 11-1. I mean, JD, how do you keep doing it, man?
I don't know. My team has been so injured. I've really just been playing it like week by week and like, all right, can we like I just like it's like at this point, it's like if it ain't broke, like I'm not gonna do anything crazy to change it. And I just kind of have like I'm just gonna keep going until I lose, I think, and then just regroup at that point. I don't know. But I think I had a few opponents like once I got all of my injuries, a lot of them were like 10-day IL. So I was like, all right, well, I could make some moves or I could just wait this out and see what happens. And that's kind of what I did. And I've just been kind of riding a wave, I guess, of just like, all right, I think I could beat this team with my players that I have. And especially just kind of going off of just the projections, like, all right, am I competing for the win this week? Like I snuck past Cade. I got past Joe. Who else did I get past? Kyle right before he took off, so I got lucky there. I got Tom this week. That could be close, who knows? But then comes the ringer of the run. I think the next several weeks after that, I have like everyone else. I have like Leo, John, probably Walt, and Carter, and then I think Justice League's in there too. But so we'll see how everything shakes up health wise. I'm expecting some guys back pretty soon, so that's going to be interesting. But that's kind of where I'm at, I think.
Our projection was super close until like last night, and I'm hoping that it starts to go back.
It
A little
fluctuates.
bit
It
more.
really does.
It does. Yeah. Watch out. Shota Imanaga is coming back. So
A good player to get back to. All right, to our next segment. We've already talked a little bit about trades that have been thrown around, but 2 blockbuster trades happened, both of them on June 11th. The commissioner officially processing those trades. And the first one that went down was a trade between the barrel-aged rye guys Tom and Schwarbenbach enthusiast Kyle. The barrel-aged rye guys getting Jazz Chisholm Jr. of the New York Yankees and Schwarbenbach enthusiast getting Kyle Schwarber of the Philadelphia Phillies. Going to go right to you here, Tom. Tell us about how this deal went down. We know that you threw out a message to the entire league with several names on it, but give us the insight into how this deal happened.
yeah, so like Willy Wonka makes candy, I'm trying to make a good team here. So you have to share a little bit of the secrets, let some people into the chocolate factory. I'm happy to do that right now for you all. I have really wanted to get younger this entire season. I don't have my note in front of me, but I've dropped my overall team average age by 2 years since the beginning of the season. And not having a chance to have my own fingerprints on this team by inheriting it, save for the 2 ads I was able to make to level my team up with the number of players to be acquired before the season. That's really what I've been working on all year. Some have been good, some not so good, and it's a work in progress. But yeah, I just wanted to, again, I love Kyle Schwarber. I do like the Phillies. I used to think the Phillies were one of my favorite teams. The Braves surpassed them in the NL. So I do still have a little bit of a heartstring for guys like that. And he's a point masher. Like, I don't remember, I think it was top 20, maybe top 10 in the league at the time of the deal. and getting Jazz just allowed me to get younger, multi-position availability. And I have high hopes for Jazz Chisholm Jr.
No, I was talking with Kyle on the phone throughout that day when the trade was going down, and at one point in time we had a possible deal brewing, which would have sent Schwarber to my team. And in talking with Kyle a little bit more, it seemed like, and obviously it came true, that he kind of just had a player that was a little bit better of a fit for your team overall, given that Jazz has that positional flexibility. He's a bit younger, and you were pretty set on making either a 1-for-1 or 2-for-2 swap. You made it pretty clear that you didn't want to do a 1-for-2, especially if you were going to be the team acquiring two players on that end of the deal.
Yeah, absolutely. At the time, I'm pretty sure I had at least 4 guys on IL, and having all those spots filled, knowing there was going to be a time to come when I was going to have to create some availability to bring guys off the IL. I don't have to worry about that with Sasaki until the second half of the year. Another player that we'll talk about that I acquired, Tyler Glasnow. Who the heck knows? It seems like he's coming back every week, and then he doesn't. And then Imanaga's coming back this week, and then Vientos will be back soon. So, yeah, I'm going to have some tough decisions to make. But, yeah, if I was going to make deals, I either wanted to give more assets away and acquire guys I really wanted, or do 1-for-1. So there was a lot of conversation. It definitely helped break up my work days because there was a lot of texting back and forth with many people, including Leo yourself. So very, very thankful for the engagement.
It was a pleasure to have all those names be thrown around and just to kind of, see what we could do there. Definitely a little disappointed that we weren't able to make a deal, but pretty cool to see you and Kyle make that deal. I will say my personal thoughts on the trade. Looking short term, I think Kyle is the clear cut winner. Personally, I'm a huge fan of Kyle Schwarber. I'm a huge fan of what he's able to do in our league in particular, because not only does he hit at the top of the lineup, but he actually strikes out quite a lot. He's kind of that like traditional, or I shouldn't say traditional. He's kind of like the modern era, like 3 outcome, like home run, walk, strikeout kind of guy. He walks a ton. He strikes out a lot, hits a lot of home runs, a lot of extra base hits. And so he plays very well in this league because strikeouts for hitters don't get a negative for you. Personally, I'm not super high on Jazz Chisholm Jr., but JD, I want to get your thoughts on this deal.
Yeah, no, I was I was like, I thought that Tom could have gotten a better return like initially. But I understand liking liking Jazz and wanting to get younger. I like the positional flexibility a lot too. So um yeah, I guess I'm curious like what other offers got turned down that maybe you wish you could have gotten, you know, for Kyle.
Yeah, let me try to look back here in this text thread to see. Well, I definitely started the conversation by saying, "Is there any way you'll trade Ronald Acuna Jr.?" That's my favorite non-Tiger player. So I was like, if I'm gonna swing, let's swing big, right? And who knows, right? If I give up 4 assets and I get Acuna Jr. back, I'd love that. But Acuna Jr., as he's already proven, coming back off of the injury, is amazing. There was the discussion of a 3-team deal that would have involved Leo. And each of us would have gotten a piece that we were looking for. Maybe that would have been a good deal. Once I make deals, I don't go back and I second guess. I just live with the reality. So there's that. Gosh, let me look here. We almost had a 2-for-2 deal, and it was going to be Schwarber. Oh, Schwarber and Machado for Jazz Chisholm and Mackenzie Gore was a deal I thought we could make.
Machado would have gone to my team. Schwarber would have gone to Kyle's team. You would have gotten Mackenzie Gore and Jazz Chisholm.
Probably, yeah. Because
Right.
I said, hey, do you think that you could flip Machado to Leo because he really wants him? There was Isak Paredes was in that conversation at one point too. But yeah, that's again, look at just look at the ages of those players I just named versus what I'd be giving up, and you can just see the work I was trying to do.
Yeah, for sure. It's cool seeing the behind the scenes like that. So appreciate it.
And then Tom, you wanted Riley Green for me at one point, and you offered a package of players. Was it 2 guys or 3?
I think it was 2 to start. I think I offered, it might have been even 3. I think it was Freddie Freeman, maybe Schwarber and Machado, or maybe Freeman, Machado, and Yelich. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that sounds right. Freeman, Machado, Yelich, or Freeman, Schwarber, Yelich. There were so many deals thrown
the best
around.
part was we got to be face to face, and like we were leaving, visiting, and I was like, "Hey, I just got one more thing for you to chew on," and I was like, "Boom, leave you with that," and then just walk out the door. That's not exactly how it happened, but
I wasn't ready for it. I'll tell you that. After a tough day of garage sailing, a lot of searching around for treasures and everything. I wasn't ready to talk trades, but yeah,
I
it
was
was
looking
awesome.
for a treasure too, and his name was Riley Green.
I couldn't do it. He's too young. He's one of my favorite players. He's on the Tigers. He's my only Tiger. And I swear if it would have been like an equivalent, like I try to think who an equivalent could be. Like a Jackson Churio, but just a little bit worse, but like 3 years older than he is kind of player, then I maybe would have done it. But I just like Julio Rodriguez. I think that'd be a good comp. I think I think I would have considered maybe like a Julio Rodriguez, but anyway,
Well,
we better get into the second trade here.
just really quickly on the last Riley Green thing.
Yeah.
So your mother-in-law had a thing for Matt Vierling and his dirty pants last year. Well, just this past weekend during her birthday, Riley Green got dirty pants, and now she wants to clean Riley Green's pants.
Ooh la la!
Watch out. If you're a Detroit Tiger and you slide either legs first or stomach first, my wife might want to clean your uniform.
So I got the Matt Vierling rainbow going. You got the Gleyber Torres Glambo going. So I think Karen's got to get the Riley Green rainbow going for the Topps collection.
I've already broken the bank on the Glambo, so we won't even talk about that a lot today.
I can't wait to see them all. All right, trade number 2 went down on the same date. The Barely Dry guys get Tyler Glasnow and Logan O'Hop or O'Hoppy. I don't even know how to say his last name. And then Otani's interpreters getting Ranger Suarez and Christian Yelich in return. Tom, I know you were pretty antsy to get rid of Yelich in particular, as you had offers out to multiple teams involving Christian Yelich. What are your thoughts just on that trade overall, how it benefits you in the short term, and taking on a player in Tyler Glasnow that has a very rich injury history?
Yeah, for sure. So I appreciate Cade because Cade actually initiated these conversations. So hopefully he saw kind of the team or the league wide blast saying, "Hey, I'm still open for business. Let's make something happen." And he actually was seeking Yelich. So I didn't feel for the first time that I was having to peddle used goods, and not that Yelich is used goods because I'm pretty sure he helped Cade spank my booty last week with the 8 RBI game. Suarez also had one heck of a performance last week as well. So it's like karma coming back to bite me. But yeah, so again, Suarez was part of my deal when I traded C's, part of that bigger deal earlier in the year. Not married to him at all. Really, I'm not married to any of my pitchers, and even the guys that I've acquired, I need to learn to not be married to. Hashtag goodbye, Tyler Holton. Sigh. This was a deal where I like Logan O'Hoppy a lot. I do like him a lot. I wish I would have played him more last week because he would have gotten me a lot more points. There was a game where he had 2 home runs sitting on my bench. So when I looked at yesterday's lineup the next day and I realized what I've left behind, it hurts my soul. And with Glasnow, I think there's a spot for him in my mind, despite him being a little bit older. I sometimes think that the injuries may not be as taxing on the player. It's probably wishful thinking. So I think he has maybe a little bit more of a shelf life. It could also drop him in the second half of the year. We'll have to wait and see.
I'm surprised that you were able to get a deal done with Cade because I know that he's actually pissed off a couple of team owners, including myself, with some really terrible trade proposals, quite honestly. I'm just going to throw him under the bus. Like, there's been some really bad ones. I'm trying to pull up a deal that he sent me here, but yeah, I mean, I think Glasnow could definitely pan out for you. I mean, if he can get a full season under his belt, I think that could be a really good move. Yelich he's been solid from a fantasy standpoint, but you take a look at the numbers on Baseball Reference, and he's really not having that great of a season. I mean, he is getting on base. He hits pretty high up in that lineup for the Brewers, but also interesting to see that you flipped a player that you had originally received from Carter in a trade. So Ranger Suarez becomes the first player in the Little Big Fantasy League to be traded to one team and then traded to another. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and the thing I've been trying to avoid is giving up pitching, and in this case, for the short term, I did because clearly Glasnow went right to the IL. Even though I read the reports, I hear the reports, he's supposed to be coming back every week. Good luck. We'll see. I'm ready when he's ready.
Fair enough. Trying to dig up that deal from Cade, but he wanted to fleece Jackson Churio from me for two players that just weren't even close to the value that Churio was worth. Like not even in the ballpark. Like his offer was in like low A ball, and I was in the big leagues. It was bad. So
Yeah.
um,
This deal was interesting for me as well, just in the sake that when I made the deal go through, I was carrying three catchers at the time. And because I called up Kyle Teal, I had Shea Langoliers, and then I had Ohapi. I had to make a decision. And like I like Langoliers a lot, and he's very young. But since I called up Teal, he ain't going anywhere.
gotta stick with them.
Hmm.
Gotta love the stash. I know there were offers thrown around too, as owners were getting pretty antsy and wanting to move stash players because there are teams like the Barrel Age Rod guys who are kind of playing for the future a little bit more than the present. And I know the commissioner had a possible trade lined up with you, Tom, to deal a couple of prospects, but the league, I think, at this point needs to have further discussions and a league vote before a trade does go down involving any stash players if they are still on the stash and haven't been called up to the active roster. So there's a lot more to discuss there, but I know there's some owners out there that are antsy to get rid of some of their stash players already.
Well, I definitely don't think I'm bringing the league down, but I would say that from what I listened to on this podcast and from my own seat, I think that I've brought different energy to this league, and I appreciate that opportunity.
I would definitely agree with that. I think just the fact that there are so many trades being thrown around and just the fact that you've been involved in a lot of the conversations, but also a lot of the trades too, I think speaks volumes on what you have added to this league. A major upgrade from the previous team owner who will be left nameless at this point, and just appreciate the engagement that you've brought in your first season in this league. It's awesome to see. All right, with that, as we are coming up on time for the first segment here, we are going to take our first break. Be sure to stay tuned as we will be dropping a new special feature segment right after this.
Hi, I'm Randy Johnson, Hall of Fame tall boy. And now that the games are shorter, I drink Bally Sports Short Boys. Cheers to Short Boy Summer.
Bally Sports made short boy brews, and we made them just for you.
Welcome back to episode 12 of the Little Big Fantasy League podcast. And it is officially time to introduce a new segment. Welcome to the 7th inning Soapbox, where each team owner gets 2 minutes to talk about whatever is on their mind. Then the other team owners get 1 minute to respond with any feedback, whether it be praise or criticism. Little Big Leaguers, this is your time to shine. So get up on your soapbox and stand up for what you believe in, because this isn't the 7th inning stretch, it's the 7th inning Soapbox. JD is going to kick us off here. You've officially got 2 minutes on the clock to state your case, and that time starts now.
Alrighty, here we go. I want to talk about a guy named Caleb. You guys know Caleb?
Caleb Williams?
No. Middle name, Caleb John. Anything? Bueller?
CJ Stroud.
Caleb John Raleigh, otherwise known as Cal Raleigh, of the Stephen Hawking and the Seattle Mariners. He's currently leading the majors with 32 home runs, 68 RBIs. He signed a 6-year, $105 million contract at the start of the season, and he also started using a torpedo bat, by the way, in case you didn't know. Arguably on pace for one of the best, if not the best, offensive seasons of a catcher of all time at this point. And he's a switch hitter. Now, the question I have now is people are starting to say, okay, well, is he challenging Aaron Judge for a possible MVP case? And so my question to you guys is, okay, honestly, I'm not sure if he's there yet. Judge has him in WAR, and he has better average. But Cal has more home runs and RBIs, but it's pretty close there. I will say, I do think that if Cal was playing in New York and Judge in Seattle, I think Cal would win the MVP if the season ended right now. And so that's my take. I don't know. What do you guys think? Can Cal take out Judge or no?
Gonna throw it to Tom here. You've got a minute to respond. Your time starts now.
For sure. So yeah, well, when you said torpedo bat, I was like, well, why haven't I heard this? Oh yeah, that's right, because he's not in New York. It's only a big deal if a New York Yankee or a New York Met uses a torpedo bat. I do think absolutely if he was in a bigger market, he'd be getting a lot more pub than he's getting. I've been loving watching the story every day when I tune in, because it's a West Coast game and I'm not staying up, and I see that he's hit another one or another two. It's super impressive. So absolutely, I think he's challenging for the MVP in the AL. I'm excited to see, even though I love Dylan Dingler, wanted him to be the catcher for the All-Star team. Big Dumper is well-deserving.
All right, I've got a minute to respond starting now. I'd say Cal Raleigh should absolutely be talked about in the MVP conversation. Despite Judge having a fantastic year, Cal Raleigh is a switch-hitting catcher, and he can do it on both sides of the field. He was a Gold Glover last season, finished 12th in MVP voting. I think he'll be right there in the conversation. He's got the 32 home runs, as you mentioned, JD, 68 RBIs, a 278 batting average, an OPS plus of a ridiculous 202. I got to see Cal in person at T-Mobile Park last Tuesday. He hit a grand slam in the game, finishing with 6 RBIs total. It was a majestic blast into right field. He is absolutely a legit player. And I think if Cal Raleigh is playing any other position but catcher, he's not quite there with Judge. But as a catcher, as a switch hitter, I think that kind of pushes him over the edge, and he should absolutely be in the MVP conversation.
Beauty. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, 7th inning Soapbox, over to Tom.
Yeah, so let's talk about the MLB All-Star voting. Round 1 of voting comes to an end later this week. We get a couple days of a break, and then you get to vote for the finalists. First and foremost, all of the love the Tigers are getting. Gleyber Torres, my homeboy, my newly crowned homeboy, as when I went to the Cubs-Tigers game earlier this month, I realized that we share a birth date. And from that point on, we've been blood brothers, or birthday brothers, if you will. So Gleyber starting at second is going to be awesome. Riley Green being up there is awesome. A lot of other Tigers are up there. Javi jumping up is pretty awesome. But I'm not here to talk about just the love for the Tigers. When I think of the All-Star team, I think it's popular player, but also exciting player. So I'm really disappointed with Bobby Witt Jr. not being the leading shortstop for the AL. Jacob Wilson is, and I get that he's on a tear and is having a great rookie year. And then in the NL, Ellie De La Cruz being behind Lindor, which Lindor is awesome, I get it, and Mookie Betts, but I think De La Cruz is younger. I like youth, obviously, we know this. And then she's super flashy, super exciting. And I also love that Ronald Acuna Jr. has been rising up the ranks in the outfielder piece. Do also love PCA and Tucker being out there. So my question to you, gentlemen, is, all-star snubs, if you will, if you want to go there first. Again, granted, we don't know for sure who's on the team, but in the voting, who's a snub, who's surprising you?
JD, you want to take this one? You want me to take it?
Yeah, you go first.
Oh man. All right, I'll put a minute on the clock here. I think I agree with you there, Tom, that Bobby Witt Jr. should be above Jacob Wilson. Just based on the track record alone from the last couple of seasons. I mean, he finished second in the AL MVP voting last year. He's a Gold Glover. He's a Silver Slugger. Jacob Wilson's having a really good season as well. It's his breakout year. It's technically still a rookie at this point, hitting 349. So as far as snubs overall, I think I need to take a little bit deeper of a dive there. It seems like Scooble is going to be the shoe-in to start the game for the American League. I sure hope he does, but it really is great to see the Tigers fans overall, stepping up and voting for their players. I don't know if Javi deserves to start in center field necessarily, but it is cool to see, and it really shows that an all-star is more than just what you're doing this season. It is your entire track record and the player that you have been, and so it's a tribute to what Javi Baez has been able to do in the comeback season that he's having.
Yeah, I'd echo the thing with Leo or there with Hobby. Just taking a quick look, I think Pete Alonso should be starting first base at the All-Star break at the All-Star game. He's having a career year, and I think he deserves it big time, especially. So I love you, Freddie, but I think he kind of gets a little LA love there, I'm sure he's having a good year, honestly. Tom, tell me, do you think Freddie over Pete, or because Freddie's on your team?
It's tough, regardless of who's on my team. I think that really is a coin flip. But yeah, when you look at the numbers, gosh, I just had him up a second ago. Freeman's got a 500,000 vote lead over Alonso, right? And so, granted, I think both are going to go down, and there's going to be another vote, right? The second round of voting. Nonetheless, you in LA and New York, the two biggest markets. So you see why the votes are where they are.
Yeah, good point.
It is crazy to see the drop off though. The first two ranked at each position have way more votes than 3 through 5. And seeing how much it drops off. I mean, there's a lot of talent out there that I don't think are getting votes that they deserve necessarily. I mean, you look at a position like shortstop where it's stacked, like Wilson, Witt Jr., Pena, Bichette, all having good seasons. Wide margin of vote there. That's a very competitive position, I would say. But I don't think Isaac Paredes is maybe getting enough credit. He's ranked 5th amongst third basemen right now in the American League. I think Colt Keith is getting way too much credit as a designated hitter. As much as we want to root for Colt Keith, there are guys that are simply just getting too many votes. I would like to see Dingler up there in the 2 spot above Alejandro Kirk. I think Dingler's having a really good season for Detroit right now. I will say now, after taking a look at the rankings, Byron Buxton absolutely deserves to start the All-Star game as an outfielder for the Minnesota Twins. He's sitting currently at 500,000 votes, with Judge leading at 2,700,000. So would like to see Buxton move up in the ranks there, and there's plenty of other guys that I think that are just not getting the votes that they deserve at this point.
Poor Rafi Devers getting traded to the NL.
Oh my gosh.
You get slotted right behind Otani as the DH.
That's his own fault. He could be a third baseman. He could be a first baseman. Now that he's a Giant, he's willing to be whatever he wants to be.
That's a podcast in itself.
It really is. It really is. All right. My seventh inning soapbox. I was going to talk about Cal Raleigh, but I'm actually going to talk about the other player that JD mentioned, Aaron Judge. He is a generational talent, and I believe that he is underappreciated for the numbers that he has put up over the last 5 years and for the numbers that he's putting up this season. He leads the league right now in WAR, runs, hits, batting average, slugging percentage, OPS plus. The numbers go on and on. He's been intentionally walked 17 times this year in 78 games, 28 home runs, 62 runs batted in, hitting 367. I mean, I don't think Judge is honestly getting the credit that he deserves. I still think that he's a little bit overshadowed by Shohei Ohtani at this point, even like Ellie De La Cruz. The numbers that Judge is putting up, absolutely absurd, and having him on my team, maybe I see that a little bit more, but he is the #1 ranked fantasy player right now in the Little Big Fantasy League. Another thing I'd like to mention on the flip side, the Colorado Rockies are not being talked about like the White Sox were last year. The Rockies are currently sitting at 18-60 with a .231 winning percentage. The 2024 Chicago White Sox were one of the worst teams in baseball history and in the modern era, as they finished with a 41-121 record, good for a .253 winning percentage, which is higher than the Rockies currently have right now. Now, you may be wondering, what is the worst winning percentage in Major League history in the modern era, which is 1901 to present? Well, that record belongs to the 1916 Philadelphia Athletics, who had a .235 winning percentage, finishing at 36-117. The Rockies are on track at this point to break the record, and I don't believe that they are being talked about enough with how bad they are doing. Again, comparing that to all the heat that the White Sox took last year. So we'll go to JD here first. You've got a minute on the clock. Thoughts on Judge as a generational talent and the Colorado Rockies?
I would say the Rockies aren't getting as much because not only they're terrible, but they're not as big a market as Chicago, and the whole Jerry Reinsdorf thing and owning that team is just a complete and utter disaster. And who wants to even spend any amount of time on a terrible team like that? They just pretend that they're in the corner. They're not doing anything. They're just over there doing nothing. And Judge, here's what I'll say about Judge. Past few years now, I'm starting to consider him as a top 3 right-handed hitter of this century with Pujols and Cabrera. That's where he's kind of putting himself in my mind. So how that plays out in the next several years, we've seen those guys with their injury histories, the latter half of their career. I'll be interested to see what that looks like.
Good thoughts there. Let's throw it to Tom.
Yeah, so I do think that Judge is a generational talent. I think the stat that's most impressive for me this year, for him personally, is that batting average number. And I would love to see him keep driving that up, chasing 400. That'd be awesome. A lot of fun to watch and get engaged with as a fan. The other question that I have was, aside from the generational talent, one player can't win a championship. So what are the Yankees going to do to create some distance from a hot Rays team? And yeah, that's probably maybe the Jays will challenge. Who knows? But the Yankees probably have the East locked up, but they have to do more probably to compete in the playoffs. As far as the Rockies goes, it's like the anti-West Coast bias, right? They're just lost in the mountains. And I do also think that the Chicago White Sox had some more name players last year. So that might have been why they got the heat that the Rockies aren't getting this year, even though it is well-deserved.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think people expected the White Sox to be a little bit better than they were, but maybe we've come to the point where we just expect a miserable team each year in Colorado, because that's pretty much what it's been for most of their existence at this point. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and they can never really seem to get solid pitching. It seems like the last good pitcher they had was Ubaldo Jimenez. Herman Marquez has had some good years in there mixed in, but nobody has had the finesse that Ubaldo Jimenez had. And kind of an interesting something that I picked up on during the Tigers Rockies series, which I believe was last month in Colorado. When listening to Dan Dickerson on the radio, they were really talking about how different it is for the pitchers pitching in the high altitude and how that affects especially the off-speed pitches. It just doesn't make the off-speed pitches quite as effective, and you really have to completely change how you're throwing the ball. So I think it probably has a huge effect on guys coming up from AAA to pitch in a new climate half of their games. So I think as much as the Rockies are given an advantage maybe from a hitting standpoint with the high altitude, it sort of evens out in my mind because of the disadvantage that the pitchers are put at because of the high altitude. And I don't think that that's talked about enough.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was Jackson Jobe had that start, and he just could not get his curveball to break nearly as much just because of the altitude.
Yeah, definitely interesting. But good stuff there in our first ever 7th inning soapbox. Thanks everyone for standing up for not the 7th inning stretch, the 7th inning soapbox. We appreciate you getting on your feet, stating your case. All good thoughts, and definitely a lot more logical than any of the takes that Joe has had in his Red Hot Takes segment this year. Gotta throw some
I think
shade
Joe
at him.
Joe would love this segment.
Joe would just think that it's his own segment, though. He's sitting high right now on a saddle over at Comerica Park. He's enjoying that game.
Giddy up, partner.
He's got Jacob Wilson in the field. He's got Kerry Bonds, who already hit the home run. He's going to be bragging about that game for weeks. You know it. All right, as we look to close out episode 12, it is our classic thought-provoking statements and shout-outs. And I will go first. I'm going to flash back to a clip from a couple of weeks ago now at this point, which comes to you from the lakes of Clawson, Michigan.
What's going on, little big leaguers? You can see, me on this side of the camera, but what you don't see on the other side of the camera is actually Tom, the owner of the Barrel Aged Rye Guys, and he sent me this package in the mail, but just happens to be in town today. So we're going to be ripping open what appears to be a few baseball cards here. It's really nicely packaged, as you can see, wrapped up in the cardboard with the nice masking tape. And as we get into the bones of this here, you'll also see the nice touch of foam in between each card. So really nicely packaged, better than your average eBay seller by far. And here we go, adding to the Matt Vierling Rainbow Collection, we've got the pink Diamante. We've got the silver Diamante. Nice. And we've got, I don't remember which one this is called. I think it's like the ice cracked silver. So 3 editions as the rainbow continues to grow. A huge shout out to the Barrel Aged Rye Guys for another 3 cards to add to the Matt Vierling collection. Thank you very much.
So big shout out here to the Barrel Aged Rye Guys, not only for joining us on tonight's podcast, but for assisting me in my journey to complete the Matt Vierling Rainbow. And Tom, now you have your own rainbow going yourself with the Glainbow.
The Glainbow. The Glainbow with a deadline of Labor Day.
Complete by Labor Day, even all the one-on-ones?
I mean, if I go broke going for it, maybe I'll need this podcast to be incentivized so I can get a couple pennies back.
Well, we do have some really great sponsors out there, so
That's true.
We'll shoot the money your way via Venmo. Another shout out is to Chase Burns, who made his major league debut tonight. Just before this podcast was recorded, I got to watch the first few innings, and he went right to work. First pitch clocked in at 98 miles per hour. Second pitch clocked in at 100 miles per hour. He struck out the first 5 batters he faced against the New York Yankees. He did end up giving up 3 runs in the fourth inning, but I did call him up for my stash. A little bit risky of a play because, you never know if the Reds are going to send him down, but had to go for it. And I added Chase Burns as another stash player to my roster. I'm very excited to see what he's going to do for my team coming up here over the next couple of months. Lastly, I'd like to shout out JD. My wife and I were on vacation in Washington this past week, and JD held down the fort in Colossian. House sat for us, made sure all the plants were watered, and the mail came in, the trash went out, all that good stuff. So shout out to JD for keeping watch and making sure that all crime was kept out of 104.
Glad I could help.
What was the most unexpected part of your stay?
I'd say I like the storms. We had a few storms come through, and I had to just keep an eye out. I was like, all right, this is actually making this interesting now. You know, sure hope it doesn't flood. Fingers crossed.
It only
Everything
got
else was
interesting
okay.
when only got interesting when the
I
storms
ate a lot
came.
of your food.
You
Yeah,
didn't have to feel bad about that either. I mean, we intentionally left you snacks, and like everything was fair game.
I did. Yeah,
It
yeah.
it, it is ironic
Trust me,
that
I tried a lot.
good. You should have taken home everything, including the
Leave you an empty fridge when you get home from a long
You didn't even take the
trip.
extra
Yeah, it was
Jones
really
soda.
kind of me. Ew.
You didn't even take the extra Jones soda.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to keep my sugar down.
Oh, brother.
Save it for the Derby. Save it for the Derby.
I already drank it. It was like the first thing I had when I came back. Oh man, too good. All right. Any last minute thought provoking statements or shout outs, Tom?
Yeah, for sure. So, as we're recording, Tigers are going for win 50, the first major league team to hopefully achieve that this year. Just loving the run they're on. Thanks, Tigers. Look forward to being there this Saturday with both a heartbreaking, thought-provoking statement and also a glow up. As we all know, I've dropped Tyler Holton, who I acquired from Joe. It pained me to do so, but Tyler is just not the Tyler of last year. However, I look forward to acquiring your bobblehead this Saturday and to enjoy bobbling your head in my basement on the fridge where all of the other baubles live in my house. And then lastly, make sure you set your clocks, get your dinner plans ready. Tigers are on Sunday Night Baseball this Sunday. Going to be awesome. The weather's going to stay hot, so wherever you are, stay hydrated, stay cool, go Tigers.
Love it.
Nice.
What do you got there, Mr. Hawking?
So first, I'd like to start shouting out Carter, who made a pretty nice pickup very quickly with Jacob Mizorowski. I really like that pickup. I have my eyes on him, and I almost picked him up at one point, even available, not even in the majors. So good job with that. It looks like a good one for you, Carter. Shout out the Boston Red Sox and Craig Breslow for trading Rafi Devers. Just what an incredible return. Definitely couldn't have gotten any more than what they did. You know, he really isn't even that good, right? Who needs him, right? Who needs him? Yeah, just really great front officing with the Red Sox the past several this decade, pretty much. I mean, Yeah, good job. That's all I have to say.
He's angling for a second Netflix documentary, clearly.
Yeah, they filmed the wrong year.
He
They
sure
filmed the wrong year.
did.
They filmed the wrong
He
year.
sure did.
Yeah.
I started watching it today, like the first like 5 minutes, and then I was like, I better get some prep in on tonight's podcast instead of watching this documentary. And plus, we like just got Netflix back yesterday, so just need a little time to settle in. But I was really disappointed that Devers was traded because I would have gotten to see him hit batting practice last Tuesday in Seattle. The Red Sox hit for a long time. The nice thing about T-Mobile Park is you can get into the center field area 2 hours before the game. So we got there 2 hours before the game, and batting practice probably lasted, gosh, it was hour 15 at least. And the Red Sox were not that impressive. I got to be honest with you. I mean, they were definitely missing that bat of Devers there. And I can't tell you, well, one, I can't tell you how many people told me go Sox throughout the day because I was wearing the Boston shirt and the Boston hat. So I just played it off like I was actually a Red Sox fan. And then two, I can't tell you how many Rafi Devers jerseys I saw, but not just like the traditional Red Sox jerseys. We're talking the new Fenway Green City Connects. At one point, I even saw a husband, a wife, and their kid all wearing the Devers City Connect jerseys. So those fans need to go ahead and take advantage of MLB and Fanatics deal where if a player gets traded, I believe within 90 days, you're able to exchange your jersey for another player, I want to say. So just and that's heartbreaking for the Red Sox organization. It really is.
At least they have some youth coming up, but who knows when that's going to actually materialize fully.
Yeah, it's an exciting team from just like that standpoint of youth for sure. Nice to see him call out Marcelo Meyer, but that's tough. That's not a good look for the organization. Devers seems to be happy in San Francisco, and kudos to San Francisco for swindling Rafael Devers.
Buster
Worse
Posey,
than the
man.
trades I've made.
Oh man. Yeah, Buster Posey's running that front office real well. Is he going to be the real question is he going to be a better GM or is he going to be a better player? Like, what is he going to be most remembered for?
Cue the cricket sound.
Yeah, I was going to say, oh, Mr. Hawking has been glitching throughout this whole
Yeah,
episode
that's a good
here.
question. Very early in his GM career.
I got no words at this point.
Oh no.
Man, you need the Hawking router upgrade, man. You do a lot better when you're in your basement, I can tell you that.
I know.
All right. I think that's gonna have to do it for this. It's gonna have to do it for this week's episode.
Let's just end it now.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. But you're like 15 seconds behind us this entire time. We'd like to thank Tom, the Blizzard of Oz, the owner of the Barrel Age Rye Guys, who just had to go on mute because he was laughing, for joining us as today's special guest in our episode 12 as he chases the Glaive, showing off that nice Gleyber Torres card there. We hope that you will continue to join us in future weeks. But in the meantime, we'd like to thank everyone for tuning in and never stop chasing your little big league dreams.